Hey guys, it's Saf here with another Raid Shadow Legends video. Now, someone in my last video asked about Marius the Great. When I did the Marius the Great video, if you haven't checked it out, I've got a 6-star Marius now, and I'm calling him Marius the Great, the best champion in Raid Shadow Legends. And I saw a couple of comments asking me to provide some information about how I was building and how I was setting up my Chimera teams with Marius for the most amount of success. Now, I've been hesitant to do this video because it is a little bit cracking. Not to say that I've spent a lot of money to get him here, but it is a little bit crack and build. I've got a 6-star Marius. I have a Fyna, and she's kind of essential and critical for this. I have a Lamasu, which means I've won a lot of sieges, so I'm in a pretty high-end clan. The others, not so much. I mean, Alva's the only other one, because Lydia's a free champion if you've done faction wars, right? But I understand it was a bit crackeny, and I always tend to try and avoid showcasing anything that is like beyond the reach of my audience, right? Beyond the reach of you guys. I don't really want to present something. I mean, I did the Marius video because I wanted to kind of highlight, you know, he's a champion that everyone can get, so you should try to get him as best you can. I know it's a difficult and long progressive path, but he is a champion worth chasing, and eventually, you know, it might take you a year or two, but you will eventually get him. He's really, really good. Hopefully it will take you a lot less. I mean, I'm hoping they do something to Cintranos to make it easier for people who are certainly like trying to progress. But that being said, I try not to make too much content that is out of people's reach, but you know, people ask for it, so I will give you the breakdown of how I am going about using my Chimera teams right now. So I've got a Chimera team. I've already done my Ultra Nightmare key for this week. We're in a pretty competitive clash, right? It's pretty tight. I think we can probably squeeze position 2 if we're lucky. You know, these guys at position 3 are like pumping some crazy numbers because this Senna team with Toshiro and Androck and the turn meter control, I mean, it's undefeatable at the moment in terms of numbers. Like, it's so crazy in terms of the damage it can do. I mean, this is, you know, look at these numbers here. An Ultra Nightmare, it's 704. The big thing about Toshiro, of course, is he gains from things like Feral Passive and Feral and Protection sets. So he's gone full on like 9 Protection, 9 Feral kind of vibe. Okay, not 9 Feral because he can't really do that. But Feral, Protection, Feral, Androck. He's gone the whole 9 yards to try and boost his Toshiro. You can't really do that with Marius. Marius will not benefit from any of those bonuses. He will only benefit from more defense, and he will only benefit from crit damage. Everything else is kind of not really useful. So that's the only downside there. That's why these teams can push to such an extreme number, but these other max HPs can't. But I did do a pretty good key so far. I've done my first key here. This is my personal best. This was Ultra Nightmare. I've got 346 million. I did do it on streams. I'll put the pin to the stream if you want to watch me actually showcase it in there as well. And we did pretty well. We got 10 trials. I missed a few trials. I could have got 12 or 13. I did miss and mess up a few trials. Now, one thing you should always remember is Nightmare rewards in terms of trials are weaker, and so is the Ultra Nightmare, right? So the trial rewards you get will depend on these things, and they move around a lot. So where this gemstone will be different next time, and you're really looking for these mythical materials. So keep an eye every single time. Like, this one is a pretty good one to do, but you need to have block buffs and HP burn, right? You need these things to be able to get this epic circular. So just keep that in mind that these things move around. Now, I generally, for the first part, kind of avoided trials, right? I just didn't bother doing trials. Then I got Fyna, and Fyna really makes ram form much easier. Okay, so I'm going to break down my team here. What is the goal of the team? It is to empower Marius. So what we are doing is we're trying to cycle Marius in a sequence where his A2 is constantly available as much as we can. So we have Lamasu. Lamasu has this A3 ability. She will remove all debuffs and reset the abilities and give me 50% turn meter. That's what she's doing. We also get a similar thing with Fyna. We're going to reduce the set. We're going to reset the cooldowns of the target's abilities. Now, you can't reduce her abilities, but you can reduce his abilities. Block debuffs, block damage, and she also does like a huge amount of buffs, like increase attack, increase crit rate, increase crit damage. So what you're getting with Fyna is like all the buffs that you need to satisfy the trials. You know, the ones where it's like do increase attack with block debuffs, do crit rate with weaken on the enemy. She basically sets all this up, right? So we're gonna get increased crit rate, increased attack, increased crit damage, block debuffs, block damage, and counterattack. But the block damage allows us to do ram form. And because Marius damage is so high, it's pretty easy to do the ram trials when you have the block damage effect. So that's what these two champions are doing. In addition, by the way, Lamasu is also fantastic for this passive. She can destroy the enemy's resistance and accuracy, which means you can easily resist or land debuffs with much lower stats. And she also has a block buffs and a decreased speed and a decreased attack on a 70% chance. So she's a great debuffer on her own, plus a 24% speed aura. That's why I chose to use her here at the moment over, say, Necmo, because Necmo is weak affinity on the ultimate form, which you're spending like half of your time on. 56% of your time is on ultimate form because you're only in the alternate forms half the amount of times. So right now, the affinity is not great for Necmo, and not having decreased speed on a 300 speed boss, that's a bit of a problem. So the consistency from Lammasu is important. Then we're using Lydia. She gives us the block active skills for the third, the Viper form, but she also gives us decreased defense, weaken, strengthen, lots of buffs, the fear for the Ram form, damage trial. So again, it's unbelievable that we're 4 years on and Lydia still becomes one of the best champions for the newer content pieces that comes out. She's just a stable champion. And then our last champion here is Elva. You need a reviver. The Ram form will absolutely kill whoever your lowest critical damage is. So we need Elva. Now, the key thing to remember is about critical damage. So you can see that Orthotrix Lammasu has 106% crit damage. My Elva has got 202%. So I put crit damage gloves on her because whoever has the lowest crit damage is the one that gets the Ram form attack, and you don't want to kill your reviver. So you need a reviver. Elva happens to be in here just because she gives us some continuous heals, but more importantly, she gives Veil. So she unlocks the Veil trial for us here, and she also can revive with the kind of stats here as well. We also get a backup cleanse and a backup increased speed and a backup block debuffs. Really, really great carry. So what kind of stats are we looking at here? We got Lammasu. She is in an arena build. So she's at 312 speed, 752 resistance, 393 accuracy, with about 4.2k defense and 73k HP. She is in an arena build. Ideally, you want to have her in 9-piece supersonic if you can, with high resistance. That would be her best build. I've got her in like this weird stone skin kind of vibe just because I don't have enough trust that I'm going to go fast enough. With Fyna, she is in full protection. Protection 9 is the best set for Fyna. She pumps 6 buffs. If you basically weren't in Chimera, that's a lot of damage to be given out. 6 buffs on a protected set is very, very good. I've got her in high resistance, high accuracy, 349 speed, HP and defense. Lydia is in 9-piece feral. Doesn't really help me here, but it helps me in other places or if I'm changing things around. 525 accuracy to land my debuffs and 300 speed. Ideally, I'd like her to be faster. Marius is in 9-piece Slayer, and my Merciless gear is bad. People keep asking me, hey, have you done the trial on, Marius with 9-piece Merciless? I would love to get some decent accessories of Merciless for my Skinwalkers, but apparently over 1 year later, I still can't get a decent amulet or a decent ring or a decent banner for this faction. They really need to do something about the rewards in Centranos. They should not be giving us 5-star gear pretty much in any Soul Cross stage. At a minimum, it should be 6-star. At a minimum. I don't care if it's 6-star rare, just don't give me 5-star because it's just useless. So I still haven't got much accessories for Marius right now, but that's why he's in 9 Slayer. But Slayer is also extremely good for Hydra. When you've got more enemies, the turn meter does really add up, so you kind of like balance it out. But in Chimera, probably 9-piece Merciless is stronger, but only if you can match these stats, and I can't. So that's why I haven't done it. 326 speed, 405% crit damage. He's got 401 accuracy, 289 resistance, 4.5k defense. He is in an accuracy chest because it has more crit damage. The one stat you care about in Chimera is crit damage. You do not care about defense. The more crit damage you have, that's how you can get more damage. You cannot do it with any other method. Crit damage is the source, and ignore defense is the only other thing. And then finally, Elva, she's also in protection, 285 speed, 448 resistance, enough critical damage she doesn't take the attack, and protection first great, she dumps out a lot of continuous heals. Now in terms of relics, which you can't really see on that screen, we should probably check those out. I've got relics on Marius, of course I've got the Cat's Gaze. I've been fortunate enough to get some socketed gemstones as well, which are pretty good. The only thing is, none of these are going to really help me. Only this Pierce defense is really going to help me because all these other things do not work. I really need Boss Killer. But even then, that's not going to work for Chimera. Anything you see on a gemstone or a relic that does multiplicative bonus, the wearer deals multiplicative damage bonus, this thing here doesn't work for max HP. It works for everyone else, but not max HP. Ignore defense, absolutely fine. So if I can get a triangular rolling thunder, that would be the creme de la creme for him. Then we have a look at Lydia. I've just thrown on some pieces here to give us some more stats. She does have a sort of damage reduction here when she loses more health, just so she doesn't get one shot. And we also have some turn meter boosts. One thing that Fyna does a hell of a lot is boost. So if you can put a couple of these gemstones on your supports, you're basically enhancing Fyna's turn meter boosting, right? She's going to boost, I think, 5% for every turn meter or I think it's either 5% or it's 3%. I always mix up the numbers. Let's double check. It's 3%. So every time she buffs she's going to give you 3%. So this one here is a 9% turn meter fill. So if on every single one of your champions in the battle, if you have that gemstone that gives you 10% more, you're essentially going to get like near enough 1% more, an extra percent turn meter, which might not sound like a lot, but over 65 turns, that really adds up when you keep buffing and buffing and buffing. So it's kind of worth adding on here. I've just got this one just to help reduce her damage, which is fine. I mean, it's not the best relic, but all I seem to be getting is death bells, and death bells have absolutely zero use, and neither does Hand of Uncreation. So there's really not much else worth. So you're really just looking at what gemstones I can bring, and this helps keep her alive. In terms of Lamasu, she's in Tempus Sanguineus. Now this gemstone here is probably the most powerful diamond gemstone that I've found so far. Whenever you debuff, you get turn meter. She puts 2 debuffs on an AoE. So if you were to AoE 5 enemies, you get 20% turn meter fill back. That's a lot. She also will reduce. You might be wondering why Tempus Sanguineus, and I have to call out one of the viewers to my stream. I can't remember if it was Akish or Akosh. If I've got your name wrong, I really apologize. But they were basically saying, "Hey, Tempus Sanguineus, really, really good for Lamasu," and I have to agree because this passive, every time you debuff, you decrease the enemy's turn meter by 5%. So when I do this, I'm decreasing it by 10%, and this is going to reduce it by another 21%. I don't know why I have to do the math here, Playroom. Can we just dynamically add this? 21% of that 10%, which is not crazy. It's 2%, but it adds up. It really does. And then when you tie this together, this is a lot of turn meter control in one relic. You get a bit of accuracy as well. This gemstone here is utterly broken. It is very, very, very good. It's effectively making you 20% faster. So if you're just doing tons of debuffs, this is the one you want to try and get hold of if you can. In terms of Elva, I've just kind of thrown on more turn meter fills. I mean, she's got a revive, so she gets turn meter increases whenever someone dies. So one of them is always going to die with ram form. We've got this thing as well here. Whenever she heals, she gets some max HP. So again, we're just trying to keep her alive. She actually has too much defense, right? One of the problems I had before was, one thing you need to be wary of is the lion form will target the enemy with the highest defense with the Hunter's Gaze, 4,580. Right now, I would really like that to be Marius, because you need to counterattack, and I can put counterattack from Fyna. So I need Marius to be the one that gets the Hunter's Gaze. He hasn't got enough. So we actually need to have another 12 defense. So this is something you should be mindful of. If you're wondering who's getting the Hunter's Gaze, it's the person with the highest defense. So really what I'm looking for is here, can I find something that's just going to throw a bit more defense on my champion? And it turns out not an awful lot. We could try and reroll this. I've been trying to reroll this for ages though. We need to go farm some more dust. That's not really going to do it. We could try and reroll this as well, but I'll be honest, the attack is probably better there because it's a terrible ring for him, but it's the best we've got. So it's probably going to be this. Let's see if we can get a better roll. It's going to be hard. There we go, 7%. That should take him above where we need to be now. 4,593, perfect. That's exactly what we wanted. We could probably try to reroll this as well. Try a little cheeky reroll, see if we can get into a defense. There we go, and then we can max out that as well. That'll basically push us to the highest point here. That should just push us over 5,000 or 4,600. So he will now get the Hunter's Gaze, which is important because that means he's going to counterattack more often, which means we've got more chance to get the A1 Slayer procs, which means we're more likely to do the trial. Little nuance is this. It's really, really important that you understand. The highest defense, Hunter's Gaze. The lowest crit damage, the dual target. Those are the two parameters you want. And then Fyna, finally, as I said, she is in 9-piece protection. She's not even fully upgraded right now. Like, I haven't upgraded her helmet. I probably should. She's a bit squishy at times. She does kind of get herself killed. But that's because we just haven't really upgraded these pieces, right? I should have upgraded this and this. I mean, we might as well do it right now. Why not? Maybe we'll roll a resistance. Oh, we did. Ask for it and you shall receive it. We should probably just give it a little bit more defense. And tell you what, if we ascend the critical damage as well, that will be great. Thank you, Raid Shadow Legends. I really appreciate you for coming today to basically make all this possible. She's got a terrible ring. Honestly, this is like any ring will do to basically make the protection. I don't have many protection rings, so it was like any protection ring will do. He's the only one that's carrying the other one. It's actually a better one, but it's a 5-star. But hey, it can only get better. It's probably going to roll like HP% or defense %. That's fine. Oh, we've already got HP%. So we can just basically just tank her up a little bit to make sure she doesn't die. Now, you don't really need accuracy on her. She doesn't really do debuffs, but resistance is really handy to have on her. Really, I'm just looking for speed. I'm looking for pace. I want to go as fast as I possibly can. She has got the Journal of Necrotis. Why? Because she turn meter fills. So she's permanently turn meter filling. So just as much as I've been putting gemstones on all my allies to get 10% turn meter fill, I'm also boosting my own generation here by another 21%. So you've got to think of the multiplication effect. Okay, 3% on its own is not a lot, but if I do 3 buffs, that's 9%. Then I'm multiplying it once by a 10% boost on the target. So that's giving me around about 0.9. And then I'm doing a 21% boost of that 9%, which is about 0.9, 1.8, about 2. So effectively, I'm actually doing an extra buff. I'm doing 3% more on that one A3 ability. So these things really, really stack up. Now, the circular gemstone here, I don't really have a better one. I don't even think I've picked up a better one right now. I just have no decent ones here. So I pretty much stole this from, I think, Sulfurin at the moment. But this is how relics and gemstones really add up. You stack them all. You layer all these bonuses. You get them all together. And you can convert something that's like a 3% boost into quite a lot more. It really, really will add up. And you will notice it when you start putting these things together. So that is a boost. Masteries-wise, we've just gone for War Master and Fyna. Not a good idea on Ram form, but it's probably okay. You don't want to put War Master on Elva because she will counterattack. War Master gets reflected on Ram form. You really want to try and avoid that. In terms of Lamassu, again, I've avoided it. I've gone an arena build. I've still got War Master on Lydia, but it can get her killed. And then for Marius, we are at Helm Smasher. Why? Because if we have Slayer, that's 30%. The boss with Crushing Rend is another 30%, so 60%, right? And if I then bring Helm Smasher, that will go to 60 plus 25%, so that's 85%. And then with the final Cat's Gaze here, that gets me to true damage. So I'm at 76, or basically with a debuff, 79% ignore defense. So if I hit Helm Smasher, I'm effectively doing true damage. I'm very close to not needing decreased defense. So I'll take you through the run here. I've been talking a long time. I'm not going to do the full run on the video. I'm going to show you how I set it up. So what we basically do first, one thing to be mindful, if you do as much buffs as I do, be very, very careful about the damage you are going to receive, because he will strip the buffs. The more buffs he removes, the more damage you take. I'm actually going to do this. You'll see the difference in damage. I hit 2 Helm Smasher procs. I went from 500 to 1.2 million. That's a lot. So I'll do all this here. We throw this out. And then what I'm going to do is you'll notice all this turn meter filling. Look at how much turn meter filling I'm getting. I'm going to basically do this. We take a bit of damage. That's fine. We reset and we go again. Another A2. 1.3 mil. Then we can reset again. We can probably put some more debuffs out here. Why the hell not? AoE. Look at all the turn meter boosting that's going on. That's what Fyna brings to this team. It's actually disgusting. Another AoE. 1.3. 1.3. Brilliant. Decrease attack. And now what we need to do with Marius, because we've run out of resets, right? We've only had 2 resets here. We can boost the buff here, which is fine. We're going to take an extra turn. So what we need to be mindful of is going to get extra turn here. That's going to reset him down here. We need to wait 1 more turn. Okay, so now when Fyna comes back around, we don't want to reset. Why? Because we're effectively going to have Marius. Marius is effectively going to have his A2 on the next turn. We don't want to reset him right now. So we're going to take 1 A1. So that when Marius takes a turn, we have it available, and then we can restart the cycle again. So the next time now Fyna takes a turn, we will reset. Like so. And you can really see what I mean about the turn meter. Look how many turns I can take in the boss's turn. Reset. I mean, I can basically get Marius to jump the boss so many times. Another one. And we're already up to 23 million. And this is how you cycle this team. This is how this team does so much damage. We're basically abusing 2 reset mechanics, and we are cycling Marius in a very strategic manner. But you just have to be always mindful, what kind of cooldown am I on? I don't want to basically do it. She's actually behind the schedule anyway at this point, so it's not really a problem. We'll take a bit of damage there, which is fine. Again, I don't want to do anything there because he's going to take a turn, and now we want to do the reset cycling again. Now, just be mindful when you're using Fyna. Obviously, you need the block damage for Ram form. So if you're doing this, just be mindful when you're going into the next form, you need to be able to have that block damage available, because if you mess it up, you could be in a bit of spot of bother. I've done it before, I've messed it up, and then you basically lose a bunch of trials on the first rotation, and you can't get back round to be able to recover the lost trials that you would have had. So just be mindful of that. That is something to be reticent of. And I would definitely say and recommend that you try to get like lasting gifts on Fyna. The longer the buffs, if they're protected, essentially, the less damage the boss can do. So that's the setup. I'll show you how to do ram form now and what you're really looking out for when we jump the form. We're going to actually get into the next form at 40 million damage. Now we're going to save that block damage. We're going to save it because we're going to use it strategically. So we're instantly going to lose one champion. That's what I'm on about. You lose this almost instantly. So what do? We basically revive her straight away, bring her back. Now, one thing to note, what do we need to do? We need to be placing debuffs with increased accuracy. That's what Masteries is here for. We also need to be doing damage whilst under perfect veil at 1.2 million. We're hoping that Masteries takes a bit of damage, that we're able to do this with him, because once we do 1A2, it'll cover it. And then we need to do fear. Now, the boss will reflect the first debuff. So if that's going to happen, you need to basically make sure you're not going to fear yourself. You don't want to do that. So you need to put some debuff out from Lydia or someone else and then do the fear. And trying to time this fear is actually quite difficult because the boss takes turns really rapidly. So you need to be able to find a way to get this fear up then A2. Once you get into other trials here, this one I can't do because I don't have thing. That's why I brought Smite, right? If I could bring Smite, you only need 2 Smites here, which is good. But again, you need Poison, Burn, and Smite. Ideally, you need Burn, if I'm being honest, because it's got to be on every single one of his skills. You can't really guarantee enemy max HP all the time, so this one's pretty difficult for this team because I don't have Riho anymore. In terms of this trial here, it's pretty straightforward. This is where Fyna's buffs come in. Just make sure you've got the block damage with increased crit damage. You've got to time it perfectly. And this one is actually also quite difficult if you don't have another form of damage because you have to do 500,000 in one hit. And Slayer procs will not get you there. And A1s will not get you there. So it's actually really, really difficult to do this if you're not using someone like a Ninja or Toshiro. But pretty much everything else you can do. You can do this one and you can absolutely do this one. So I should be able to pick up these mythical fragments if I time it correctly. Okay, so right now we're going to take some damage here. Not too bad. I'm going to give him the block damage. And she cannot take the debuffs right now. Because if I basically do a fear, we're basically going to get this reflected back. See, there's the first reflected. Okay. Now I basically need to use Maris's A2, but I've already got a bit of a problem. I've lost my increased accuracy. So right now, what am I going to get? Well, I have no decreased defense, and I have no veil. So that's not going to work. I can't put any debuffs, and I can't do any damage. I'm actually going to waste this one, right? I'm going to jump ahead, because I could do some damage here. Let's just get that out of the way. And we'll try and cycle back around. You can't reset the block damage ability. That's the only downside, right? You cannot reset the block damage. So it's very likely he's going to die. There's a very high probability we're going to lose him. Right here. We actually lived, so that's good. Now, if we can somehow get back round, we'll put the fear. There's the one trial done, right? So we're pretty much done the first trial. Now we just need to get weakened and do some damage. Now, I don't really want to reset because he's going to die if I reset. He's probably going to die anyway, I'll be honest. We might as well just hope he lives. He's dead. We saw that was going to happen. I knew it was going to happen. That's not a problem. Now I'm going to put fear back out. We're actually going to do this, and then we're going to revive, bring him back. We're going to instantly put block damage on him. This gives us the veil, and we can instantly get the damage out. So this gives us that trial that I was talking about. This is what Elva can do for you. Revive into this trial. Now we need to basically get the buffs out on him and do another A2. So I could reset him right now. If I reset him right now, he's probably going to jump ahead of the Fyna, which we don't want to do, right? Because we need to get the crit damage buff out. He hasn't got it at the moment. He hasn't got the crit damage buff. He needs that or crit rate. The boss will have weaken, hopefully. It won't fall off, which is great. And we hopefully can do some damage here with placing 6 unique debuffs within 3 turns. So I'm actually going to do this to help. I'm actually going to do this. And I'm also going to do this. And that should hopefully get us closer to that trial. And then I'm going to do that. And then we're going to put fear. We're going to put block damage and poison sensitivity. We need 1 or 2 more debuffs. Oof. It's actually really, really ropey. This should give us some more buffs. No, still 2 trials. He's probably going to be dead. So we have to revive him again, which is always the downside. This is the trick you have to do. You have to just get everything in the right order. I'm pretty sure I can revive, so that's not a problem. That should give me a revive straight into a block damage, but I'm out of sequence. That's the main challenge I've got right now. In order for me to do this, I need to do this. Now, we've done one other trial here, so great. We almost did enough damage. Look, damage the Chimera on all 5 of its turns in this form using skills. Actually not far away. I might even be able to do it. I probably should have saved that, but it's actually okay. Oh, there we go. Damage. Enemy max HP, of course. Enemy max HP. What am I talking about? Doesn't really read correctly. Damage the Chimera on all 5 of its turns in this form using skills that scale. I don't think we did that. So I think that's bugged. I think that's actually bugged. So we still need to do this though, right? I still need to be able to get this buff a bit short of this. So that's something we need to do. So I am going to reset him right now, because I'm pretty sure I'll get Fyna to take a turn, and we can satisfy the needs, and boom. That should be another trial down. So we've pretty much done 6 trials, and this is what Fyna enables. Without Fyna, none of this is possible. Next time we come around to a rotation, we should be able to do this, and we should be able to do this one. Sorry, we cannot do this one. We should be able to do this, and I don't even think you can do this one. I don't think anyone knows how to do that one. Maybe someone with Alaz or something. But this one here should be fine, because all we need to do is block some stuns. Already see like we blocked 3. There you go. We lost Marius again. It's not really a problem. We're not going to slow it down. What I'm actually going to do is just try to heal up, and we'll revive Marius in the next turn. The reason why is we're about to change form. We've kind of achieved our goal here. We've got everyone. We've got all the trials we needed to get. We've achieved our form. We'll get the last of these stuns on the next turn. I'll pull him back alive. He probably will not die from this boss. There's not enough buff to steal. The other thing to note when you do this, be mindful of your transitions. If you put too many buffs up, you will get yourself killed. Because the boss, when he enters back to ultimate form, is going to strip your buffs. The more buffs he steals, the more damage he deals. So try to not have too many buffs between transitions. It's not very easy, but that's what you should be mindful of. And that's the rotation for pretty much that head. I'm going to power through now, and we'll go through the rotation for the next head, right? This rotation now is all about damage, right? What I'm doing here, it's all about damage, right? I can jump the order. I'm just here to do as much damage as I can. So I'm going to jump ahead now to the next form, and we will continue. Okay, we're in next form here. Somehow we are still getting this increased defense, even though because he hasn't got increased defense. So that's the only downside, right? We're still close. The increased defense buff on her God of the Hunt's Gaze, which is annoying, right? Now, what are we looking for trials here? Well, we can definitely do this first one. We have increased damage. We just need to get some debuffs on the enemy. The second one, nobody can do this as far as I know. Might be on Nightmare, but this is a ridiculous one. If I make one plea in this video, player, and please change this. This is the most stupid trial. The boss will never, ever give enough damage out. And even if he does, he's going to kill your team. So it's really difficult to even make this a reality. So there's a big problem. And you really need to fix that bit one, because it blocks this, right? I can actually do this, but I can't because this is just utterly impossible. So they really need to fix this. Damage the Chimera within 3 of its turns. It doesn't count enemy max HP, but Slayer Set, one of the advantages Slayer Set counts as non-max HP damage. So if you can get some A2s going with Slayer procs, those 300k damages that you're going to do, this will count towards this number. So Slayer Set can count towards this, even if the enemy max HP can't. Normally I would have Necmo and I would be able to do this, but because I don't, I can't do the rest. But to be honest, the other trials are pretty difficult anyway. This is a very specifically niche trial. Reflect, Pain Links, Decrease Resistance. They're not exactly tons of effects. So all I'm really losing is one trial, not the end of the world. I can do this one, and I can do this one, and then you can do this one. This is what I was saying about the counterattack, right? So really what we're looking to do here is get some debuffs out and then try to get this done with Slayer procs within 3 of its turns. Normally you wait for the first 3 turns and then get him on the next cycle, right? It's the first 3 because you're straight in, it's difficult to set up. So right now I'm not going to cleanse. I don't need to. I'm basically just set it up here. We're going to put the decreased speed out, slow the boss down. We're going to put this here. We need to get him into cycle. Decrease defense, weaken. I do need to get some debuffs out. That's what we're trying to do first. Okay, there's the debuffs. Now we can do enemy max HP. Trial 1 complete. Okay, trial 1 complete. We just did it here. That's a really easy one to do. Already at 615k, and a lot of that is to do with Slayer Sets, right? And because I can repeat it very quickly, I should be able to get this going very fast. Now I'm going to cleanse this off because we're going to counterattack. Boom. Bit more damage. And then enemy max HP. We're looking for the red tech. See, double proc. And that's how I get that trial done. Even though I don't have another significant damage dealer, Slayer and a bit of counterattack. Now we're on to trial 2. This just requires decreased speed and decreased defense. These are things that you should always have up all the time. So it's pretty straightforward. We might not have it up this rotation here. I should have reset, but I just want to make sure I got the decreased speed out. We'll see what we get here. I'm actually going to power this through. Boom. You know, this damage is already counting, which is great. We'll decrease defense and weaken again. We don't need to reset right now. We still don't need to reset. Like, we're waiting because we know we're going to do this. And that should be another trial. And now we're on the counterattack one. So this is kind of, you just want to get here as quickly as you can. Now that this is here, we should be able to set up the counterattack and we should be good to go. So I'm not going to use that one just yet. I'm going to set this up and then I'm going to cleanse because hopefully it should attack and we start counterattacking. And that's what you kind of want to do here. You want to try and get the counterattacks to hit him more often than not. There's another counterattack. So we're just trying to get there as early as we can. We might as well reset him at this point because he is going to need, we're going to need to wait a while before we can cleanse. But I could have actually cleansed the Elva, right? I could have cleansed the Elva. Cleansing the Hunter's Gaze triggers a counterattack. That's what we're doing. We're basically using the kind of counterattack cleanse mechanic. That's why I'm not instantly getting rid of it. Because the longer I keep the Hunter's Gaze on, the easier it is for me to force a counterattack. We did just get absolutely wrecked. Be careful about the Lion Form. He has the highest attack. The Lion Form has the highest attack of all of them. And I do want to be mindful not to have too many buffs. So I kind of need to run down my buffs a little bit here. So we are going to transition badly. So I'm going to just get rid of that. We didn't get a counterattack there, which is unfortunate. So the counterattack trial is just a bit of trial and error. Ironically, the wrong word to use here, but it's just a bit, you just got to get lucky. You just got to hope that you can get around the rotation properly. We're probably going to lose Lydia. She might live. We never know. Oof, just about. Just about. So she's going to heal up. So that is the Lion Form. The Lion Form generally is more of a DPS check. He does hit really, really hard. Got to be mindful of that. But otherwise, pretty straightforward boss. So I'm going to power through again now. We're going to go back to pure damage mode, and then we'll have the Viper form. Now, I'm going to bring it in slightly earlier here. One of the things you need to make sure you don't do not transition to the Viper form with block debuffs unless you know the enemy is not going to be able to steal it, because otherwise he will steal block debuffs, and you will then not be able to place the most important debuff that Lydia has, block active skills. You want to stop these abilities. This boss is a bit weird. As long as you have block debuffs up or you have block active skills out, you're normally okay. If you let him debuff you, you will die. And the moment you die, it becomes very difficult, right? It becomes very difficult here. So we're just going to get some extra turns, do this. And then what I want to do straight away is put block active skills. The moment I do this, this fight is now super easy, right? I even do it over decreased defense and weaken. Super easy. So what trials are we going to be able to do here? Well, not an awful lot. Right, not an awful lot. Obviously, this first one we can easy. The second one we can't do. We don't have burn. We don't really have any poison, so we can't do these trials, which is impossible. We can damage the Chimera while we have decreased attack and increased speed. That's possible. This one is also possible. This one is not. No increased resistance, right? We don't have that. So we can basically get a couple of trials in here, right? We can get the epic stone, which is great. We can get this. This is cool. So that's what we're going to do now. We're basically going to get these all set up. So first things first, what do we need to do? We need to do damage, easy. And we need to do damage whilst we're under decrease. Well, it's under decreased attack and we're under increased speed. So we have no increased speed at the moment and no increased attack. So we're going to do this. So we might as well do this first. Just get the damage out. Trial 1 done. Now we're under increased speed. We should be able to do this next one with, because the enemy has got increased attack. Right, I'm going to speed it up here. To provoke, which is kind of annoying, and this should cover the second trial. There we go. Trial 2 down. Okay, trial 2 down. What's next? Trial 3, increase attack and block debuffs. So he needs to have block debuffs and increase attack, and we just do a single skill of 600k. Now this should be absolutely fine because it does count and it does include max HP damage. So we can just do this. That's got block damage. There we go. Everything we need. Trial 3 done. And now we're pretty much done. Now it's all pure damage because there's nothing else we can do in this team. Really, if I had a HP burn, I could unlock a few more trials. Like, this would have been nice, if I'm being honest. But it is only circular. Circular is really good, though. But it is only a circle. It's not the end of the world. I haven't quite found a way to get both Riho in this team at the moment. It doesn't really work. I've tried Sulfurion. Sulfurion would be not a bad shout because we would get decreased resistance. Because Sulfurion can obviously, when the burn expires, he applies decreased resistance, so you could unlock a bit more, but who did he replace? It's probably going to be Elva, but then we lose the perfect Veil trial. So there's always, these are the challenges with the actual Chimera boss. You always lose something, right? I can guarantee myself 3 here, and it's mythical eyeballs, or I could just get myself the chance at 2. So we go with the chance at 2. That's the way we do it. So from a trials point of view now, this team is pretty much done. The only thing we can do is we can stun. We might be able to do this, but it's very unlikely. From a lion form, we're just trying to counterattack. So we've like potentially like 3, probably 2 more trials left. So I'm going to power through now. You'll see all I'm going to do in this turn here. It is now all about full damage. I never let it have block. I never let it lose the block active skills. We keep that up all the time. But otherwise, it is just Marius going on an absolute rampage. It'll be Marius coming in and just doing as much damage as I can. Because now we've got as much multiplication as we can get. Can't get any higher multiplier, really, apart from the trials and the ram form. So it's now a DPS race. How much clash points can I generate with this team in the time? Which means it's careful ultimate management. The more that I can do this, the better. Especially on alternate forms, because alternate forms have less. They have less defense, so they are squishier. You can get higher damage numbers. And look, we're just going to keep doing this. 1.4 million that time. 113,000. Block active skills fell off. What do? We put it straight back on. Straight back on. Now, you can survive. It's not like you need it on. You can get away with it with just having block debuffs, but I highly recommend it. 1.5 million there. The highest I've seen my Marius hit so far is 1.7 million on Ultra Nightmare. Because the thing you need to remember, of course, is that whilst you're Nightmare, the maximum damage you can deal is lower, right? It's only on 180,000. So your base damage is decreased, which does have an impact on how much you can scale it. So if you lower that base multiplier, then everything else that follows is, of course, going to be worse, right? It's, of course, going to be not as good. So we're coming back around to a transition. I'm trying to cut down on my buffs, which is, at the moment, quite a lot. We're going to lose the smite, which is a bit unfortunate. Might as well do this, because these will be protected anyway, and we could do an extra A2. And there we go. So after 30 turns, we're at 182 million. Now, I will power a lot of damage in about 5 turns on Ultimate Form. I can do about 40 to 50 million per damage on Ultimate Form if it times correctly. So really, we're looking at a minimum of a 3 to 400 million, which is very, very strong. We're going to get about 2 to 3, right, about 4 million clash points probably. So I'm going to now run this through all the way to the end, and we'll see what damage we get. We're coming up to the end of the run now. You can see I've managed to get to 340 million, but I'm pretty confident I get to probably 360 if I can time everything perfectly. If I make sure that I don't mess up one of my reset cycles, that I don't get 3% on decreased speeds, you know, we can easily get us up to 350 million because I'm adding about 3 to 4 million per A2. And I'm able to do I might be able to do 1 more cycle. For sure, I can probably, it's going to be tight. Definitely can do at least 1 more here. We'll see how it goes. But 350 million is a really good target for a Marius on Nightmare. Obviously, you lose out on damage because of the enemy max HP differences. I think we'll be able to do 1 more cycle if we get lucky. So we'll hold that back. We will just do this here. The boss's decreased speed is going to fall off, I think. Let's get ourselves increased speed going. Slow it down. Last turn. We might as well just throw this out at this point. It doesn't really matter. Reset him. Decrease defense, weaken. We might get 1 more. I don't think we'll get 1 more A2, unfortunately. I think we will not be able to lap the boss quick enough to get back for... Oh, we might. We're just going to be able to. 1 more A2 to finish it off. This is the value of those Terminator controls I was talking about there. We've got so much more damage going off here. We've got 362. 5 million or 5 billion clash points. And this is also my personal best trial that I've ever done with this team. 14 trials. I missed out on the stun blocks on the ram. I could have got 15. 15 trials is probably the max I could hope for with this team. But it's all about Marius empowerment. Now, adding Lydia's Brimstone has actually added about 10 million damage to this team. So Brimstone is also super good here because the boss is consistently using active abilities. So unlike Hydra, where they don't really use their active abilities, you can really gain a lot from a Brimstone. So having a Brimstone in this team is well worth it. Having Cruelty in this team, well worth it. You want to be able to reduce the enemy's defense. So when you don't get those Helm Smasher procs, you're getting closer to true damage because the enemy's defense is lower. So this is a really, really good key. Like I said, it's my personal best for this difficulty, which is going to complete the run. And we are going to get 5 billion. And that goes with my others. We got 2 mythical eyeballs, 4 here. We didn't get any of the actual gemstones, but that's okay. We got some pretty good material here. That's solid. And that puts us straight up into the clash. I get my 8 billion. So I've got survival speed here. Right? I'm getting this 8 billion each time. And that puts us right up into here. Look, 10 billion, 10.8. I got 5.76, 34, 346 million there, and 362. So that's really, really pushed us up. We're getting closer to, I mean, Clash is pretty difficult these days because it's not really easy to like match make and find good matchups. So it's kind of just like how well your runs went. Right now I'm doing pretty good. You can see like easily one key could throw us off anywhere. So every one of our keys counts, to be honest. And we lost a member of the clan here, which is a real shame. But we got still 2 members here. And I think Darkest Knights, they are not. They've got everyone in. So that's the only downside here. We are down 2 keys. So they're down quite a lot, actually. So they're pretty much capped out. They have 1 person. Maybe it was 2, 3, 4, 5. I think there are 5 keys left, or 6. They can do 6 keys. So they're missing 2 people. Well, 3 people. So that is my Chimera Clash team that I just wanted to do a good deep breakdown to explain how it was all working. We'll see, can I craft any relics from that? I think I can maybe craft 1 rare. Don't mix your materials. If you don't know, don't mix your materials. Very bad. It's probably going to be a death bell. Oh, it's another one of these. I actually quite like this Temper Sanguinis. I'm not upset about getting one of those. So that's quite useful. And the gemstone I got, I think, was a pretty basic one. What is it going to do? Fills the wearer's turn meter by 10% when their HP drops below 50%. It's okay. It's okay. It's nothing special, nothing crazy. There you go, guys. That is Chimera. Let me know in the comments below, how are you getting on with Chimera? Right now, I still hold true to what I said from day one, which is, you know, prioritize getting this top chest first. It's really important. Then kind of prioritize getting to 4 billion so you can get 2 of these each time. And then prioritize trials. Trials are one of those things, if you have the right champions, they're really easy. If you don't have the right champions, you're just going to struggle. Me picking up Fyna has unlocked 10 trials for me. That's how crazy it is. I used to only do about 3 or 4. I'm now doing 10 to 14. So just one champion can make all the difference. But don't worry about it too much. If not, you haven't got it right. The key thing is this top chest. This is the best reward really in Hydra. And also, I would say, this is the best reward, because this is the only place you can get these like different shaped mythical gems, and some of those gemstones are incredibly powerful. So Clash and the top chest are more important to me than the individual trials, because relics will come, more relics will come. Like we're already seeing Cat's Gaze's power creeping. You know, in 5 years we'll be able to get an event relic from the clan shop, right? We'll be able to get one of those in 5 years time. I'm sure next update will have more relics. It's the way they play this game, right? Pretty much the last 3 updates we've had relics. Next week we'll have an update. I'd imagine there'll be some relics. But there you go, guys. Let me know in the comments below, how are you getting on Chimera? I'm really looking forward to seeing that. Thanks for watching. As always, have a great day, and I will catch you all in the next video.